All right, so continuing in the Cindra deck building series, I have built a interesting deck which revolves around Pummel. So basically, I was trying to think of like, is there creative ways or unique ways that Cindra can perform better than Ira? Because Ira does a lot of the same things. A lot of times you're going dagger dagger, and then Ira has the advantage of having the second attack do an extra damage, so you can set that up with breakpoints. And so people build around that. But, like, what are the advantages that Cindra has? Because I think with Blood Splattered Vest, Dragon Scalar Flight Path kind of helps, but that's not a huge thing. But, like, being able to use the Flick Knives more often is something. Ira can use Flick Knives, but you have a hard time recurring the daggers as frequently. So that's one of the things that with blue, it's the thing that the red build really leveraged. But with blue as well, like, I can set up 3 chain links and then ask them to block the 4th as well as the 3rd threatening mask twice, right? Dagger, dagger, or dagger something, and then 3rd chain link threatening mask. If they block it, I flick the dagger and get another chance, forcing them to block again. So that's obviously like the blue Cindra's advantage, and to have a bunch of breakpoints that you're just constantly asking them to block, otherwise you get these on hits. And then also that you're going to 4 instead of 3, making it just a much more taxing block, is probably the smart build. And this is kind of just like an aside. I thought this would be a fun deck to try and figure out. And so, yeah, so I was thinking about it. What else does Draconic do that gives Cindra an advantage over Ira? So Cindra's ability lets you flick every turn. That's nice. But then also Draconic lets you have these discounts. There's quite a few Draconic cards that say if you get to more chain links, the more Draconic chain links you have, the less something costs. So, for example, Blood Runs Deep, Compounding Anger, both cost less for each Draconic chain link. There's a bunch more like that, but I thought if you use Pummel, you can use these things that say they cost 2, but you've cheated them out for 0 generally. You also don't have to represent Pummel because you can flick on the chain link, proccing Blood Splattered Vest. So if you have 1 floating and you attack with Blood Runs Deep, let's say, then you can flick, hit the dagger because there's almost no way for them to block that damage. Then put a counter on Blood Splattered Vest. Now you have 2 floating and you can send the Pummel. And so I don't think the red Pummel is as necessary. I think I did a couple tests with the red Pummel, but I think the blue Pummel and the yellow Pummel, both because blues and yellows are pretty useful in this deck. So if they come up and you don't have a way to play them, you can just use them for resources. And they give you that like guaranteed mask hit, along with it turns a possible mask trigger into a really pretty big swing because it hits for more, which is nice. They have to discard a card, which is obviously great, and you're going to get the mask trigger. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure this is actually a great deck, but it certainly was a fun one to try and figure out how to build, given that, it's all Guardian types and slow players that are using Pummel. And so I figured I'd give it a go. So yeah, I'll post it on the thing. I need to change the name. I'll change the name to Cindra Pummel. And yeah, let's see if it works for you. I think it might have legs because it's not like you're blocking with these blues that much anyways. Like, I don't have so many blues in here that that you're trying to block with them. It's just if they come up, and with the pummel, if you can stick it in arsenal, you've got. So bleed out is another one where generally you're going to be able to get 2 dagger hits, so you can get this 2-cost thing to cost 0. Bloodline, blood runs deep, compounding anger. I think that's all of the 2 costs. So that's the one thing, is you don't have a lot of pummel targets. It's why I'm using why I'm using blues and yellows. And then potentially like these are coming in and giving you more things to spend resources on. So I might actually want to go to more like 12 to 15 blues. But for now, this is the list I'm running. I'll put it up. If it evolves, I'll keep it updated. And let's check out the games. Okay, so first one here is against Verdance. And I'm just not bringing AB because I'd rather I'm going to try and go gas unless it's all arcane damage. Verdance, should be all right. Kind of sucks that I drew into these 2 pummels. This list, this one I didn't have the yellows, so this was just reds in here, just the blues in here. So like, I don't have much I can do with these. She cashed her whole hand, so I know I can at least filter one out using Cindra. And then I'll keep one and just pitch it as a blue. Drawing into another blue, that's too bad. But still, I'm just going to do Cindra things and go gas here. So pitching, I believe, pummel, because then I can use concealed blade. Yeah. Concealed blade, I can throw both daggers here and then use concealed blade along with flick knives to proc Cindra's ability and get some of them back. Fairly straightforward turn here, right? It's just dagger, mark with magma, lava burst, and then I think you want to send the concealed blade on the. You're flicking on mark with magma, and then sending concealed blade. I guess you can send concealed blade on either. You just have to flick first. Oh no, you have to break the chain before you send concealed blade. So maybe I can't even send concealed blade. Oh no. So yeah, because you're not able to clear out the spot. So I'm sending it here just to get the +1 and still have this thing hit, which should proc mask for me. So that's kind of nice. Forcing her to use a root-bound carapace. And then I'm going to flick anyways, progress this thing to the next chain link. And Lava Burst hopefully will hit and proc mask. If it doesn't, it's a 5. It's a pretty big break point to have to block. The one thing that felt good about this deck, and maybe it's just from like playing a bunch of Cindra, is I'm getting to a good amount of balance between chain enders and middle stuff. Like, there's a solid amount of chain enders, but it's not so much that I'm getting stuck with 2 enders per turn too often. And as I say that, I get a 2-ender hand. So let's see. This might not have been the best possible play. It's tough because I'm missing a starter here. I'm still not running Oath of Loyalty, which I think feels like a valid thing. Feels like Oath of Loyalty it just closes down the deck a lot in terms of what you can what you can do. And so at least while I'm trying to build these decks, if at some point maybe I'm going to get to the point where I'm just trying to build around breakpoints and do the simple, I can flick, so make this hard to block and ask you to do that hard block twice. Build, then maybe that is like a pure draconic, straightforward Oath of Loyalty type thing. But on the blue Cindra, you don't want to start with Oath of Loyalty that much. Like, you want to be starting with a dagger or something simple. And so it just closes down your turn quite a lot. And so I've left it out in the last few iterations of this deck. This one was kind of interesting. I think that I flicked on the last turn, right at dagger, and then I flicked it. So the reason I'm throwing this at 2 and not trying to get more damage out of this is because Mask of Momentum is threatened on this, so you still have to block it. Granted, Verdance could have just blocked with Barkskin, but I guess Barkskin has like all sorts of extra stuff. So it's like there's definitely some matchups where, or Blood Runs Deep in general is probably like, it's not a great card, and it's one of the reasons that this Pummel deck is a little goofy, is because the 2-cost stuff is, it just isn't quite as valuable as I feel like it should be. But it does enable this like interesting cheating mechanic that I think is fun, so I'm doing it anyways. And then sending Art of Dragon Fire. They block that, so I'm not online for Mask anymore, even though it shows 3. I don't think that's accurate. One of the ones that I want to try and build a little more is the Poison Blade combo. I think that's an interesting option here. And then this is a nice setup that I've just drawn into. Double Strike works really well with Wrath of Retribution because I can go Double Strike, or Double Strike, Brand, Double Strike, and that hits my 3 chain links. And then I can hit Wrath of Retribution. Oh, which is, by the way, is another one of the Pummel targets. I forgot about that card as an option. It's a 1-of, so it's not that. You don't get it that much, but it's certainly an option. I wonder if the Ira deck that just came out is going to create some more space for this deck, because there is a lot of overlap. And so we haven't seen spoiler cards for the Ira yet, but I'm definitely going to be checking that out soon to try and see if there's something that can work for Cindra's favor, or maybe I'll just start playing Ira. I think I don't like her hero ability just in terms of design perspective. It's not that interesting, but it does help direct your deck building, and it's obviously super powerful. And I like that she's a grindy hero. I started on Warrior, so it's the grindy stuff is super fun for me. Okay, so now Wrath of Retribution. This is the thing about Cindra is, yeah, she's a little bit I mean, she's not brain dead, but the blue Cindra gives you a lot more stuff going on, but it still is like ninjas are more about the deck building side of things, I would say, and like finessing how you take advantage of their combo lines and their chain generation and stuff like that. Once you're actually playing the deck, you're kind of implementing the thinking that you've already done. So yeah, this, I mean, at this point, there is still obviously like Flesh and Blood is so full of decision making. So I'm trying to figure out how do I get um, the most out of this Wrath of Retribution. The thing I don't know, I think probably it's not worth really like giving up your daggers. Unless it's late game and they're really, you're really setting yourself up to do lethal or threaten lethal. Wrath of Retribution, just getting the extra, in this case, 2 damage if you use Dragon Scale, or 4 damage to cash your knives and then next turn start with none, isn't really worth the effort, the squeeze. Maybe if I had Blood Runs Deep and I could get both knives back and then sling them. But yeah, I'm just going as wide as possible on this turn. I'm just trying to get as much damage out ahead of this Verdance as possible. I think that there is some validity to that, just trying to sprint on a Verdance, and just like any opportunity I can to convert damage is good, because if you let them sift through too much of their deck, they're just going to get to those life gain cards, and that's not really what you want. So yeah, I mean, this Dragon Scaler, that's not the best use of the equipment, because I haven't even blocked with it. But alas, throwing the kunai again. It'd be interesting to check. It's a lot of damage. I guess I can check real quick. She kept 3 out of 4 cards and ended the turn on 13 health. So what did she start the turn on? $35. So that's what, 22 damage turn. Threatened more than that because she at least blocked with something. She blocked with felling, so 25 damage threatened. Oh no, 26, 27, 28 damage threatened. Yeah, that's a pretty pop off turn. Feels pretty good. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like there's something to that, just sprinting against Verdance. So now I got a huge life deficit on her. She has so many of those Rootbound Carapace healing spells or abilities. I guess they're D-reacts, technically. Yeah, it's like there's not too much trickery. You just kind of just want to put as much damage up as possible. That was fun. That was a mind warp that really helped me, because now I can use Ignite into Demonstrate Devotion or the Dragon Blood. It's a solid three card turn there. Yeah, this is this was the Pummel. This is the Pummel deck, but just like, it's another one of those ones where it's like, if you play around with Cindra's resource cards, they do have a decent amount of like extra trickery that you can put in, like double strike or dual threat. I appreciate that as an option, but it's not like you're building around that card. It's not like that card's coming up that often, and you have to be willing to pitch it. Like, it's why the Pummel list is kind of interesting, because you have to put in cards that you wouldn't otherwise run, but the difference isn't super significant. There's so many options for Cindra that some of these things that you're putting in, it just like changes the play line, but it doesn't cripple you too bad. So yeah, obviously send me the bill. I don't care about your 7 damage attack. Figuring out the line for this. I think that I screwed this up. Because I need to do... This is the one reason that like this deck can be tricky. Because you do need to make sure you're running draconic attacks. I have all of the fealty generation stuff in, because like you need to have as much fealty as possible so you can use it, right? The nice thing about fealty is you can use it when you want, so it stacks and then you fix things. Cindra is a lot about fixing, like bite or hit, fixing stuff. So I think double strike. Oh yeah, double strike has to come in as a draconic chain link in order to let me play display loyalty or hot on the heels, because you need that needs to be the second draconic chain link. So I crack the loyalty, then hot on their heels. So then I can play hot on their heels. Then I can play display loyalty. I guess they blocked the hot on their heels, so this gets me over the hump to be able to get the daggers, which is nice. And then I'm gonna throw the last double strike for shits and giggles. Yeah. Throw the double strike. I thought that there was maybe an opportunity there. I think I was like, I was thinking, because I thought there was an opportunity to actually try to threaten mask. But there was not. But I did get my daggers back. And then there I see the other Pummel. Not much I can do. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I would like to do with Cindra is I would like for there to be a way to load the arsenal with a combo card and then leave it there until you see the other combo piece. The only issue is that Mask of Momentum basically says like that's not an option, because you want to be threatening Mask on turns that you're sending a finisher, and that's your Mask threat, and that Mask draw is arsenal fodder. And there's not a lot of cards in here that you're like, this is the worst thing ever to be in my arsenal. It's one of the reasons red line works pretty well. So yeah, the combo thing isn't really an option. You kind of just have to like always play with what you've got. And the beauty of Blood Splattered Vest is there's it has 3 opportunities to fix something where you're having real trouble getting everything through. I don't know why I'm putting Bloodline in Arsenal. I guess the fact that it has Go Again means that I'd rather just see that played out on a later turn, and I shouldn't have a hard time getting to it. I was just trying to figure out, I was confused as to how I got to 3 floating there. But alas, I did. So let's see, I don't think I'm going to be able to convert this turn because it's Verdance and she has a lot of ways to hold on to stuff. But throwing mark with Magma here, and then Compounding Anger in next should do a solid amount. I guess I can also throw a dagger, which is nice. The dagger is kind of interesting. I think I thought I would be able to throw 2 daggers, which technically I could have if I had waited until after this to recur the dagger. But I can also just use the that last blood splattered vest. It's basically Kodachi lock here. I can throw enough cards that they're forced to block. Counter Blessing does not take that, doesn't overblock there, which is nice, but at the same time, Compounding Anger is coming in for 5, and they got nothing to block with, so that's good game. So yeah, it was a pretty good game. Didn't actually get to do the pummel thing, but it seems like the rest of the deck is working pretty well, which is good. So here, second game I got against Florian. I actually got a game against a Cindra, which I managed to beat. Although I just sided out the pummels because I was trying to bring in some more D-reacts. What is it? I think I put in That All You Got and Wax Off or Wax On, the one that does +2 if it's defending a 0 damage attack. I think that's Wax Off. Maybe it's Wax On. Either way, yeah. So I got the Florian here. So I'm just trying to set up. This is a weird turn 0. It doesn't quite work. But Florian's a good opportunity to use this deck because he's a big blocker. So it's like, I expect players when they're up against Cindra are going to be doing everything they can to block out my mask triggers. And if I can get the mask triggers, that's when I can get momentum. So a little bit of a tough draw here, kind of making the case to put some extra blues in. You know, I mean, one all red hand is not a non-believer make, but I think that's one of the things that I probably should have done. I should have known to do before even finishing this deck was just run a few extra blues, because that's like that's what those pummels are kind of there for. They're extra blues that have this interesting upside that if you build around, can be really powerful. And you don't feel it's a blue. Like there's a lot of blues in here that you feel bad if you have to play it. There's some that you don't. Throw daggers one, concealed blades sometimes, but rarely. But the pummel, again, it requires that you switch out a bunch of cards. But I think it's not super devastating, and it does. You definitely, if you're able to play one of those pummels, you definitely don't feel bad. One of the things that I just was thinking about, so one of the reasons that also like I like the idea of the pummel list is that Blood Runs Deep is a card that I don't run. I haven't been able to run that often, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's not bad at all, actually. Blood Runs Deep enables you to hold on to the flick. So if I go dagger, dagger, Blood Runs Deep, I'm going to recur both daggers after that, right? Blood Runs Deep, recur the daggers. Then I've got flick knives available again, and I can flick one of the two daggers that I've just recurred in a future chain link to ensure a hit. And I believe that that would still count as a hit. Right, the same way flick knives causes a chain link to count as a hit, Blood Runs Deep does. So it's one of those extends the turn situations. I think I'm gonna throw two versions. As I'm like thinking right now, I've just come up with like a version of this deck which is not. I think I'll take out the yellow pummels, or maybe I'll run 4 pummels, 2 blues, 2 yellows, or something. And build the deck with pummel in there. And yeah, it's a block 2, but you can't be blocking with Cindra anyways. If the only time that you're blocking with one of your blues realistically is like late game, because you're on the ropes, which hopefully you're not going to be. You're going to be in the driver's seat late game because you have the Kodachi lock. And then also because yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, because you have 2 blues, in which case block with the other blue. Unless you're drawing, unfortunately, into 2 pummels, and that's just, it's pretty rare. But yeah, anyways, the thing that I'm thinking is this deck currently is running a few too many non-draconic cards. And so I'm thinking I'm going to build a more draconic version of this, because between Bloodline and Blood Runs Deep, the only one that isn't taking advantage of, like, it is a draconic thing to be able to play 2s for 0, and that's the whole setup here. So it's like I'm gonna put this Pummel Cindra in as like, it's there. It's not something that's going to happen all the time, but if it does, you're not going to feel bad about playing a blue if you can make it work. So yeah. Anyways, carrying on this game. This might have been a mistake. I think I didn't register that. So I have 5 cards because he did a that all you got? No, sorry. This round's on me. And I didn't register that my attacks aren't going to count for, are going to do 1 less damage. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to hold on to all these cards if I'm going to go wide and it's going to take that much, power away from my attacks. that may have been a mistake there. Probably should have spent, you know, a few of these blocking the inlane strike. So yeah, just trying to figure that out here. I go dagger into brand with cinder claw. I'm just trying to get the chain links so that I can play Blood Runs Deep. The nice thing about Blood Runs Deep is it's now going to flick both of these daggers. They'll each do one instead of less because of the all you got doesn't actually affect me here. Then recurring the daggers, and yeah, so I still have the flick knives, which is, here's the thing I was talking about. This allows me to threaten mask. I guess technically the way that this played out, yeah, I don't know. I think that I had to do it this way just because of the maybe I could have. No, yeah, I had to. I pretty much had to play my line this way because of the fact that I didn't have a starter. But yeah, Blood Runs Deep enabled me to flick past that chain link. It enables you to go. You have to block this, and then you have to block this again, and then you have to block this again with Blood Runs Deep. It forces 3 blocks. If you go dagger Blood Runs Deep, there's the extra mask forcing block, and so that's the whole that's the build that I'm gonna start working on here. And I think even keeping the blue pummel in is doable. I don't know that it's necessarily bad. Here's the the downside is I have 2 pummels now, and I couldn't really justify blocking with one. Like if I had been able to block pummel bleed out, I could have kept a card in arsenal and kept more life, which would have been helpful. But yeah, I'm gonna put this list, which I'm using here, which I showed at the beginning, which has all of the pummel enablers, the pummel cheaters, and then I'm going to put the next list, which I think I probably still keep the blue pummel, but I'm going to slightly shift focus. I'm probably going to pull out one of the enablers, and take out, maybe double strike, and go slightly more draconic leaning, in order to just make it real easy to get your daggers back at the end of a turn. Oh, but I'm doing the thing. So yeah, so I didn't need to, because I only swung 1 dagger there. I didn't need to use Blood Splattered Vest. And this is a really sad draw because Concealed Blade just isn't doing anything for me there. I think Concealed Blade in this situation, actually, it's just better to get 2 daggers back. Like if I had drawn into something that enabled a draconic, that enabled me to do draconic pop fealty. Although, yeah, I could have just popped fealty twice there. That was just a bad play. The total miss. Well, no, because concealed blade doesn't enable me to get another link. So I could have popped fealty and played the double strike, but then concealed blade is reaction, and so I can't get one more chain link in order to get Cindra for free on that one, which is too bad, because then playing the concealed blade kind of made sense. It gave me 1 damage and got me 1 attack. Sorry, 1 dagger back. But then also, like, the pummel thing worked, but then he had a felling and just came back with just such a devastating turn. Yeah, kind of a bummer. Kind of dejected right now, man. Because my list is kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely fun. I had a lot of fun building this list. I hope that you guys enjoy watching. And maybe play the list. It's certainly a fun one. It's certainly fun to pull out a pummel on as a Cindra. You're like bothering them all game with this, like, you have to block, you have to block, you have to block, I'm going to do mask, and then you're like, and you can't even block this and give me one of your cards. It's a fun card to have in there. If anyone's a big actual pummel player, a guardian player basically, which I haven't done any guardian. You guys don't. I'm pretty sure most guardians are just running 3 pummels, and it's just, I guess that you sit on cards in Arsenal more. Like Cindra is just rotating them through. You can't sit on them in Arsenal too much. And then also, like, I'm not trying to put a blue pummel into Arsenal, but I think, yeah. So I think the thing that I'm thinking with the evolution of this list is just going to be running 2 blue, 2 yellow, or 3 blue, maybe 1 yellow pummels, and then like a 15 blue hand. And so if I draw into 2 blues and one of them is a pummel, I'm not upset, and it goes to Arsenal and it sits there. The fearful thing, the thing that makes that feel complicated and difficult, is there's not, if you don't draw into a way to get it out, you can get stuffed pretty hard. It can get stuck in there. So that's the one piece of that equation that I really don't like. But I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna build that list, and I'm gonna try it, and we'll see what happens when you put it in there. Because there is a decent amount. I mean, what percentage of your deck are cards that will get the pummel out? It's not the highest. This deck also probably folds to yall. Trying to think see if there's anything in the thought process that I should be explaining. I think it's kind of straightforward here. I guess the one thing that I could have done is sent Art of the Dragon Fire here. But it feels like kind of a waste. I guess that is the way. That's the tough thing. So that's the way to try and set up the pummels, is instead of putting the pummels in Arsenal, you're putting a pummel enabler in Arsenal. Trying to see if this is a setup that can enable me to do. Could I have done dagger, dagger, wrath on the concealed blade? No. Yeah, there was no way. It was interesting because it almost felt like there would have been a way to use that pummel there. But there wasn't. Because wrath does enable the pummel. It's a 3. But dagger, dagger gets you 2 draconic chain links. I would have had to discard the ignite to the felling. And then you're floating 1 for the wrath. You can get 1 from one of the daggers. But then you don't have enough ammo for the pummel. If I had more blood splatter left over, then yeah, that would have worked. And then this, I realized I misplayed slightly because I can send the ignite first. It'll reduce the cost of the Wrath of Retribution here. And so it only cost me 1. So I decide I'm going to flick one of these knives and proc the Blood Splatter Vest, which is nice because it gets me an extra chain link. So that's going to get me 1 to pay for the Wrath. And I do that. But he played a Shelter from the Storm, so I wasn't able to proc Blood Splatter Vest, and therefore had to pay with the Concealed Blade, so the whole thing was spoiled. And then, yeah, really spoiled, because I couldn't have gone over the top either, because I was only going over the top by 1 with the Concealed Blade. So Wrath is only going to let me throw this kunai once for 2. I can throw it, I can recur them, and then I can throw 2 more. So that's not true. So I can get 6 damage out of it. But I think that he's blocking 1 here, and then potentially the Shelter's sticking around for 1 more. Oh yeah, I don't know why I thought I could throw 2 kunai. But yeah, so there's a lot of options out there. It's what's fun about Cindra is there's like lots of deck building considerations. I hope that these videos are keeping it interesting, keeping it fun to wait, what? Oh yeah, he's at 8. I'm able to take 2, and this is only 5, so it's not even enough. Let me know if there was an error on there. I think it's possible that I screwed that up. Brand, no, yeah, brand, into ignite, into recur for free, into blood runs deep, throwing, it throws. Oh no, because I can't re-recur. So that's why there's an issue. Um, that's going to do 2 damage only because the prevention from well grounded, I guess. And then lava burst for 5. If you had all no blocks, it would cover it. But it's Florian, so I think that he's just gonna throw too much at me. Oh no, I managed to block. And then he just got too much answers. And I wasn't able to keep the tempo because I kept on having to throw all my kunais or whatever. Or, whoa, I just flashed back to the beginning. Anyways, not sure exactly what that one was at the end. Kind of skipped it, but as you could tell, I was very much on the back foot, and felling of the crown was a devastating threat to my health. The thing here is maybe I could have blocked with these two and let one get through and held on to throw dag. I can't hold on to any of it because it wasn't enough. But yeah, again, I'm going to keep building Cindra decks. I'm going to keep trying to figure out what works, and hopefully you guys are interested in watching and building on your own as well. Share your comments. Again, it's been really fun sharing these decks and sharing this process. So yeah, keep commenting. Let me know what you're liking. And I'll see you next time with another Cindra version. Peace.